Film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society, podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Spot Podcast and the Film Review Life channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another great episode of hashtag TFR Podcast Live. That is longhand, the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society, podcast. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society on this podcast called hashtag TFR Podcast Live. Do we have a jam-packed show for you today?
And in honor of the Queen of Media, Wendy Wiillams, I wore
a tiara. That's right. So listen,
Is
people.
it crooked?
No, it's straight. Yes, it's on. Yeah. But it can be a little crooked, though, you know.
I mean,
because
it
it's
was
a little
perfect
crooked
in the beginning.
game. It's fine. Oh, now you're crooking it up. Now it's took it to the side. Now it's got a little player
It's
in
hip hop
it.
now.
A little player. But anyway, people, we have a jam-packed show for you today. Right. We're talking about Wendy Wiillams, the Wendy Wiillams movie, the documentary that followed the movie, What a Mess, The Little Things, starring Denzel Washington, Malik Remy, and Jared Leto, right? And then American Skin, produced by, directed by Nate Parker, and we have a special early bird review, a special early bird review of a film called U.S., the United States versus Billie Holiday, that debuts on February 26th on Hulu, but we have the review now. So without further ado, first of all, we want to shout out to everyone who is watching us on Vimeo, FB, on You Found the Spot, and also on Crazy Dion, and on YouTube right now, on the YouTube channel, the Film Review Life channel. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow where you are watching us, right? So without further ado, let's go into what we start with to warm it up. First of all, we have to do some shameless plugging, you know, just a little shameless plugging. You know, we have our mask. You know, we are about keeping people safe during COVID, and we have our mask. Take your smartphone, right? Take your smartphone, get your QR code scanner, or go to PayPal and bring up your PayPal scanner and scan this particular QR code, and it will take you to where you can order this mask. Make sure you include your name and your shipping address, and it will get out to you within 7 to 10 business days.
Which is very needed right now because we are fighting this virus.
That's right. We are fighting this
much
virus.
Needed, that mask.
Much needed. And of course, we have the Steadfasting shirt. The Steadfasting shirt. Take your QR code on your phone, not your PayPal QR code scanner, but your regular QR code scanner. Scan the QR code. It takes you to our fundraiser. All proceeds go to helping us expand more quality programming on You Found the Spot, the Spot Podcast. You know, like these t-shirts right here. You know what I mean? We're going to bring quality product to you, right? So as we move right along, here is our first meme starting today. We'd like to thank everyone who is chiming in, who is watching us right now. This is the first meme of the night to warm it up. Here we go. Now, you know Candy from the housewives.
Right.
This particular meme comes from I Am Harley Boy from out of Cleveland, Ohio. You know, he is a Cleveland, Ohio radio personality.
Right.
And he posted this one. He reposted it, right? Because Brandon L. Moore says, Candy, Cicely Tyson just died. Please. Right? So Candy is up in her stirrups, and they said, wait a minute. Cicely Tyson just died. Can't we just wait a minute? Can we wait a minute? I thought that was hilarious. I said, hey, you know, let's put it up. No aspersion on anyone. It was just all good, clean fun. Which brings us to this. This is a nice tribute
beautiful photo of Cicely Tyson
that BET used to tribute Cicely Tyson over the internet. Cicely Tyson, December 19th, 1924 to January 28th, 2021. Now our question is, the question is, did she take the experimental agent? Did she take the experimental agent? That's what we need to know.
Oh my gosh, I hope not. What I'm thinking is she was on her book tour, right? Because she has her book out, right? And I'm thinking, you know, the touring, all of the different interviews maybe took a toll on her.
Well, maybe not. That's to be seen, but they will let us know, I guess. They'll let us know,
took the shot. They are not going to let us know.
Not going to let us know.
They are not going to let us know.
Did you know, people? How many of you knew that Cicely Tyson and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan are first cousins?
Right.
How many of you knew that? Did you know that? Right? Wow. Yeah, so let's keep moving. So, you know, How to Eat to Live was probably one of the books in her repertoire early on, right?
Because I believe she was a vegan.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, here we go, people. This next meme comes from O.J. Simpson. Smash the share button, smash the like button. O.J. Simpson says, get your shot. I got mine. O.J. Simpson got his shot.
Goodness.
6 hours ago yesterday. 6 hours ago yesterday, which means that the clock, it has now begun to tick. Hank Aaron took his on January 6th, the day that the infamous rioters sieged on the Capitol.
Right.
16 days later, on the 22nd of January, he had passed. So the clock is now ticking on O.J. Simpson. I wouldn't have even trusted.
You know what? Just hoping and praying that when he took it, his immune system was up. He had his vitamins in him. He was eating healthy. He was exercising. So hopefully, you know, just praying that his body is ready.
Reports are coming out that the elderly are catching COVID, right, from after taking the shot, right?
Yes, but hopefully, but he's pretty active, right? So compared to most elderly people.
I wouldn't have took it because, you know, they don't like OJ because they still think that he killed Nicole and Ron. And so I wouldn't have took it. Myself, I wouldn't have took it if I was OJ. But OJ is being a good soldier, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, okay, here we go. Here's another thing.
I'm on the right direction.
Highly contagious.
Okay.
South Africa coronavirus variant detected in the U.S. Highly contagious South African coronavirus variant detected in the U.S. Brought to you from our friends at Hollywood Unlocked.
And we saw from watching the news that one of the strains, someone here in Las Vegas was affected.
They were affected by it, but no one was traveling. That's interesting. All right, here we go. Here's another meme here, right?
Right.
Very interesting meme. More than 75% of the children that have died in the U.S. as a result of COVID-19 have been Black, Latinx, and Indigenous. So, a reminder, when politicians are talking about reopening schools, no matter what they're really saying is it's okay in our book. It's kids of color who die.
Well, I saw in the news today that in Chicago, right, the teachers union, they're like really, really fighting to make sure that the teachers are able to receive the vaccination and that they need to be considered as first line workers, right? And so they also want to make sure that the classrooms are washed down, ready, and prepared for the students to come in. So right now, that's what they are fighting for. So yeah, it's important that everything is. We don't want to put our children,
right?
In circumstances like that. I mean, the teachers need the vaccinations. The rooms need to be washed down.
Exactly. Now, which brings us to the last meme before we get to doing what we do best on the film review, which is rate films. You know what I mean? Where we rate films. You can slide over. No. That's just because the meme is there. When we take it down, we'll be fine.
You know what? Yesterday I saw something on the news, and they interviewed a person that owns a gym, right? And he purchased something called the Casper system, and I guess every few seconds some type of spray, and it's like 90-something%. It fights against effective against the viruses. So if they had maybe a system similar to that in the school systems, that would be great.
This is public school systems. That's not going to happen.
Oh, well, they're getting didn't they pass like trillions of billions of dollars of packages that's supposed to go to the schools?
I don't know. The lottery is supposed to go to the schools. The schools are still in the same condition.
Ever since we were kids, wasn't the lottery money supposed to go?
Okay, this last meme comes from the previous inaugural when Trump was elected. But being that obviously Michelle's favorite color is burgundy, it works as a sight gag. Okay. So as you see, she's comforting Joe Biden, a more spry, younger Joe Biden, before his last two brain aneurysms, right? You knew that, right? But anyway, look. For the last time, Joe, Barack and I are not staying. You're the president. Now give me back my car keys.
That is a nice color on her against her complexion. Really nice. That burgundy is nice.
For the last time, Joe, Barack and I are not staying. You're the president. Now give me back my car keys.
That's
I thought
cute.
That was hilarious.
That is cute.
I thought it was a hilarious meme. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny too funny. Which brings us to our first review of the night. Our first review of the night is
American Skin.
American Skin. That's right, people. American Skin is our first review of the night. Let me bring it here because we always are interactive and we play the trailer as we do what we do.
We have been looking forward to this film
for quite some time. We have been looking forward to American Skin for quite some time. Yes. American Skin is directed and lead actor is Nate Parker.
And writer, it says.
Right, and writer, right? Yep. So let's run down the cast.
Okay, we have Omari Hardwick, Theo Rossi, and of course starring Nate Parker, Bo Knapp, Jahir Acosta, from Hill Street Blues. We were happy to see him also. Michael Warren. Right?
Yeah, Michael Warren. Yeah.
His name isn't on.
You have to open up on another screen, I think.
Okay.
You have to actually open up on the screen. But yeah, so this is an ensemble cast to tell this story.
Sierra Capri, Shane Paul McGee, Tony Exposino, huge cast.
Yeah, huge cast. It's an ensemble cast to tell this story of retribution, right? So the synopsis: a young father and his young son are driving through a neighborhood that usually American blacks are not seen in by the cops' perspective after a certain time unless they're out doing dirt. So the synopsis: a young father and his son are coming back from a friend's house after an event where the cops stop them, ask for ID and registration, and the stop goes wrong. There is no justice. The AG finds that there is no reason to press charges against the officer who shoots his son. You've seen the trailer, so that's no mystery there. And so there is no charges given, so there is no justice. And a man in his right mind takes it upon himself to exact justice upon those that have done injustice to he by killing his son. Right? The movie is a powerful piece.
It is extremely powerful.
It should get a nomination. It should get Oscars, Golden Globes. It should get foreign press. It just should be seen as a masterpiece because it's executive produced by Spike Lee. Right? Executive produced by Spike Lee, and the story, the through line is just excellent. What you got to say?
The mother, right, played by Milana Jackson. She was just powerful too. Just to see both parents, right, and then we know Nate Parker plays Lincoln Jefferson. It was so palpable. Like, I could feel like their emotions because I told you when I watched this film, because we have a huge family, right? So we have like teenagers the same age as his son, right? So I'm watching this film and I'm just like I'm on this emotional roller coaster. I feel just like the family members, just like the parents and the cousins. And I was like watching a film and crying, and I don't do that often. So this film really touched me. And I'm going to pull back now because I'm getting emotional again. Like, the acting was so great. It was just so well written. And I expected this because we saw Nate Parker's previous film.
That's right.
Right? And I expected no less than what I saw. This is just an excellent film. Like you said, it needs to be nominated and an award needs to be received in all of the different film shows.
Awards during the season.
Film awards, shows, programs, everything this season. Because this is just like, they did it like a great job.
And it's not, what I like about it is you're not seeing police killer cop porn.
Right. See, that's what you said that earlier.
The way
right?
the way that they cut the scene.
Right.
You don't see cop kill a black boy porn.
Right.
You don't see that. That's what that is. When you watch the things and the people have their phones up and you're watching the cop do brutality or murder towards a human being.
Right.
That is cop kill porn.
Yes.
Right?
And you don't get that with this.
You don't
and
get
while
that
we were watching the film, that's the very first thing you said. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, because this is just like great storytelling. There are scenes in this film, no words are necessary. It's just extraordinary, just great filmmaking, cinematography. Like the camera told the story.
That's right, because it's a conversation piece, because you have to ask the question, because there's a college documentary crew that comes to interview Nate Parker's character before the decision comes down from the AG.
Right.
And so he agrees for them to follow him around to different places. And the question is, did he bring them in because he knew that it would be injustice and it would have to be settled? Or did he bring them in to capture American skin?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to capture it. But then he says, well, since you're here, capture what happens next. And they capture everything. So it is shot from a documentary style form, as well as, so it switches from documentary to scenes, so fly on the wall and documentary. And it's a document that is placed into film festivals at the end of the film. So this is a tour de force, the way that it is captured. Right?
Yeah.
We're not going to say anymore, because you have to see this film. If you haven't seen this film, it is playing on Amazon Prime, and you have to see this film. This film captures everything, right?
I remember you told me, you said in film school you learned that, you know, a film is a good film when you can have the volume is turned down, and you're just visually watching it, and you can tell the story just from visually watching the film. That's what this is. Like, we're talking, and like right now I'm looking at the trailer and there's no sound.
Not from your end.
From my end there's no sound, and I'm just like looking at it, following it, and it's just, I mean, from seeing the trailer, even before we saw the film, I knew we had to see this film. I mean, it's just because when we saw The Birth of a Nation in 2016, right? We were looking forward to that film as well. Great film, right? So I was disappointed because I felt, you know, it was my belief that film should have won numerous awards as well, because it was just, we reviewed that film. It was just beautiful film. Beautiful written, beautiful cinematography, just like this film. So, I mean, it's just...
Nate Parker is a filmmaker.
Yeah, he's definitely the truth.
And to be a director and to plot out the scenes and the movement of the camera while in front of the camera. It's beautifully done. So let's break this down.
Okay.
Cinematography is a 10.
Yes.
Character introduction and development is a 10. Character arc, it all of a sudden just starts to twist and turn from out of nowhere. It's like something happens, somebody's a police official is at the house, and you know they see the police official again, and it's going down when you see the police official again. That's a 10. Let me go back to arc. The arc of the camera crew. You know, a 3-person camera crew is incredible. The use of location to shoot. That's a 10.
Yeah.
The use of stock news footage, right? Actual footage and stock footage, that's a 10.
Yeah.
The use of tension and pacing through real time, REEL, in this film.
Yeah.
The tension is, like my wife said, palpable. It's like it builds up, and it's like you're waiting for the verdict, right?
Right.
And when the verdict comes, the reaction that you get when you see the verdict, you say, wait a minute, they didn't have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
When the verdict is the palpable energy in the room that is just, it's just amazing. That is a 10, right? So what would you rate American Skin?
Definitely a 10.
Mm-hmm.
The highest that we go is a 10, but if I could give, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, I mean, it's just an excellent film. And, while watching this film, we also discussed Omari Hardwick and how he did such a great job acting. And I believe this is the second film we've seen him in since Ghost.
Yeah.
And we reviewed his previous film.
Well, it's the third film because it was Tyler Perry's
Nobody's. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. This is the third film, right?
Spell, and now this one.
And he does a great job. He's a great actor.
He immerses into the character, and you don't realize that it's him, and you don't even think about Ghost.
Ghost is definitely a thing of the past, although that was great acting too. Mm-hmm. But in this film, I'm just looking at him and his whole his acting, his demeanor, the makeup and stuff. Mm-hmm. From certain angles, you see his initiated state, right?
Because something's going on with him, and you can find that out in the picture too.
Yeah, and it's real because we have family members who dealt with the same issue as his character. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at his face and I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before.
Right. So let's see. So American Skin, I give it a 10. So before we go to the next film, let's go and see what people are saying. Let's see. Tanya Congress said, gangster style crown.
Thank you, Tanya.
OJ is not proving to be the brightest bulb on the tree. And then she also said, right on the lottery. Right on the lottery. Okay. So let's move forward. Our next film is a special early bird review.
Yes.
A special early bird review of the United States versus Billie Holiday. That's right, the United States versus Billie Holiday. Now, let me first say that, there have been many documentaries out about Lady Day, about how she sang, about who her comrades in the music business were. Why she was such a talent. So many documentaries. There have been documentaries out concerning and speaking to her use of heroin, right? There have been documentaries out that just combine the two. There was a film called Lady Sings the Blues, produced by Motown Pictures, starring that queen of pop and R&B, Diana Ross, right? But I have none of those films or documentaries delve in with the facts that Lee Daniels bring in this film called The United States versus Billie Holiday. All of those films, all of those documentaries dull in comparison because there are certain situations that you did not know were actually going on, right? like in Lady Sings the Blues, her right-hand man, Lady Day's right-hand man, played by Richard Pryor, was a piano player. But in actuality, her right-hand man is Lester Young, right? They had come through the Chitlin circuit together. He was her saxophone player. If you don't know who Lester Young is, you need to learn your jazz history. And on YouTube, you can listen to a lot of Lester Young, the Prez. You can listen to a lot of Lester Young and Billie Holiday on YouTube after the show is over. Now, what makes this movie so good is they bring out a fact that most don't know.
Right.
Billie Holiday was being hunted, right? Yeah. She was being hunted by the drug enforcement end of the FBI. You understand? There's J. Edgar Hoover, and then his right-hand man, they ran the FBI together. He was in head of the drug enforcement, and they created a whole division to be able to go in and infiltrate the black community, and they used black people to do it. People who came back from the military. And the person that they chose to infiltrate Billie Holiday's concern was a person whose parents and his condition was pretty well off. He was middle class to upper middle class.
Yep, Jimmy Fletcher.
Jimmy Fletcher. His father was a mortician.
Yeah.
Right? And so
he owned
his own mortuary.
Right.
He had died. His son Fletcher came back from the military after his service. He told his mom that he had got a brand new job, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And he said that he was a reporter. But in actuality, well, you have to watch the film.
Yeah, you do.
Right? You have to watch the film. You have to see how this unfolds and how Lady Day's relationship with this particular person unfolds. Let's go through the cast.
Starring Andrea Day as Billie Holiday, Trevante Rhodes, Jimmy Fletcher, Garrett Hudlin, Melvin Gregg, Tyler James Williams plays Lester Young.
Tyler James Williams is...
Everybody hates Chris.
That's right. But he embodies Lester Young.
Yeah.
His timbre and his voice is what Lester Young sounded much like when he spoke.
Yeah, and Garrett Hudlin, Garrett, I believe it's what, is it Hoodlund? Hoodlund plays the commissioner, right?
Right.
So he's part of the FBI that's going after Lady Day.
Commissioner? What's the name?
It cuts off. See, it just says.
I won't give you the name. Okay, go back.
But yeah. So let me see. Oh, it's going through its process. At least she's not yelling at me because this phone likes to yell. Devon Joy did an excellent job. Devon Joy Randolph plays Rosalind.
You know her from
Rudy Ray Moore's film,
the Dolomite film, right?
Yeah.
My Name is Dolomite, right? The Eddie Murphy film, excuse me.
Yeah.
She plays his main woman in the film and comedy, right?
Yep. Tone Bell plays John Levy. Rob Morgan plays McKay, and in the Lady Sings the Blues film, that's the character
Billy D.
Williams played. So when I saw McKay enter the screen, I automatically thought, oh, that's what Billy D. Williams played in Lady Sings the Blues, which is interesting. The next character. Agent Sam is played by Evan Ross, Diana Ross's son.
That's right. Agent Sam goes so far as to learn how to play the trumpet. Yeah. Maybe that was something that he had in his repertoire, but to blend in, he goes in to play the trumpet to be able to infiltrate. Because you see, the FBI thought that jazz music was the devil's music and it was spreading immoral thought amongst the black community. And really what they were saying was because white people, were coming in to partake, that it was spreading immorals to the white folks, right?
Yeah.
So why was the FBI after Lady Day? After Lady Day to take her livelihood away from her? It was because of a song.
And you will see which song we're talking about when you see the film.
It is because of a song. Now, Lee Daniels deserves some Oscar nods.
Yes.
The young lady who portrays Lady Day deserves Oscar nods.
Yeah, Andrea Day, she did an excellent job.
She never breaks character. No. She never breaks Lady Day's singing voice.
Nope.
She captures Lady Day from the beginning of the film to the middle to the conclusion, and she captures Lady Day as she continues to arc, as she descends down. And when you know what Lady Day looked like before, and you go through and you see how she looked in the end, she captures this transformation all the way through.
She immersed herself in the character, because I read one of her interviews, and she lost 40 pounds to play the role. She says she began drinking and smoking because she wasn't a drinker or a smoker. So she also did that in order to get a feel of the character, to help embody the character, and that she did. Like you said, her acting was just superb. Watching this film, you could not tell me that I wasn't looking at Billie Holiday. You just
That's right. Like you were actually there seeing her in Technicolor instead of right. So Tanya M. Conger says, was that Andrea Day's first film? Yes, her first feature film.
Yeah, her first feature film.
Because at first she said she didn't want to do it because because of the portrayal that Diana Ross had done.
Right.
And she didn't want to do anything to taint that and not stand up to that portrayal. So she didn't really want to do it at first.
Right.
But she did it, and let me tell you something.
She did a great job.
Lee Daniels' blocking on this film, first of all, his research gives him Oscar nod already, but the way that he blocks the film, there's a scene where Lady Day gets off the bus, because back then the buses didn't have restrooms.
Right.
She got off as she was coming from out of a field, and there's a scene that's taking place that causes her to lose it, right? And she goes into this shack, but as she walks into the shack, you see that the people who own the shack had nice things inside the shack. It's kind of like how they say people who live in the projects, but when you go into their home, you wouldn't know that they were in the projects, right? So this is what this is. And so she's passing through, but what happens, it turns into a sequence montage where she's going through this room. Next thing you know, as she's getting ready to get a hit, then you see a person come in and stop the hit. She walks through another room and she's crying, and she's looking at something else, then something else happens, and then so it looks like it's happening to her in modern time, but in the end, her hairdresser and her stylist come, and they're making her up to go out on stage. So then it went from being real time, her actually experiencing, into a flashback before she decides to take the stage to sing this certain song. And the actions and everything that happened, the situation that caused her to lose it, to go into this montage, makes her decide that she's going to sing this song. And
so Daniels, he did a beautiful job, because we had to stop and talk about that scene.
Yes,
it was just beautifully done. You have to see this film.
You have to see this film.
Have to see this film.
The United States versus Lady Day. So let's break it down now. Cinematography is a 10. The use of movement, the lighting, the use of low key in this picture, right, is a 10. The character development, introducing you to the primary characters and the secondary characters within the ensemble, which makes this move, right, is a 10. The character arc on this film, the United States versus Billie Holiday, the way it goes, the way that she arcs from who she is to the end, and the last thing that she tells the FBI agent, I mean, it will have you, it sits you up in your seat and you're proud because it's true. That's a 10, right?
That scene had me crying.
The wardrobe, right? Nothing amiss in the wardrobe. The time, the way that they recreated Times Square, 1930s, 40s. It's a 10. It's a 10.
Hair, makeup.
The hair and makeup, 10. The use of the vehicles, right, is a 10. The plot line, storyline, through line of this story, 10, right? Just at the point, now I will say this, there is a doldrum in the film, right? And I think it's because filmmakers today, and I think Lee Daniels connecting from a heyday in the 90s coming into today, we saw this in Little Acts. We noticed that Steve McQueen, director, not to be confused with the actor from the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Steve McQueen, the black director, extended scenes, meaning he made scenes go longer than they seem to need to give the audience the feel of time, of how long something actually took within real time. So it appeared to be a doldrum right in the middle, just before she comes from out of the field and the action happens.
We discussed that.
That is and then all of a sudden the movie just picks up and flies from there. But it comes to a point where you say, well, let's get to the point of the film. And just then it comes to getting to the point of the film. That was from my perspective.
Right, because when he said that, I'm like, okay, so where did you see... what did you call what you're talking about? A doldrum. So I'm like, where did you see a slowdown? Because there was not a slowdown. I'm like, are you talking about the dialogue? And you know, I love words, right? So then I'm immersed in the words and the characters. But I have seen films where there are doldrums, because we discuss it and we'll talk about it during the film. But at the moment you told me that, you was like, what did you say? Oh, the doldrum just ended. And I'm like, what doldrum? That wasn't a doldrum. That was just
they could have clipped about 10 minutes off the film.
I feel it was perfect. So, you know, it's up to you. But I didn't see any doldrums.
But that doesn't take away from the film, because just as it's elongated to show time to show depression, which this is a filmmaker's auteur's choice these days to extend the film out, to give it that depression feel, to give that slow down or boredom of
time.
And
it fleshes out the characters, and it gives you it's like the different little nuances of each of the personalities and the mannerisms, and because Lee Daniels, we've reviewed his previous films as well as his TV shows.
Mm-hmm. This is his best work.
Well, this is an Oscar film right here.
This is
an Oscar award-winning film right here. But he does a great job of fleshing out characters, and you feel like you know them, and you can relate to some of them, and you love the conversation and the talk back and forth, and because it had us cracking up laughing, right? Because it's real talk, right?
Because it's a discussion in the film about this song, right? Mm-hmm. At the top of the film, and then you go through 2/3 of the film, and the song is not discussed. So then we get into, let's get to the point of why they are trying to take her livelihood away, and show as soon as you say that, the scene happens and it kicks off and it speeds up and it goes from there. So it was a auteur's choice, a director's choice to slow it down to give you that depression feel to Billie Holiday's story, which I'll accept that, but I will also say that in older time, it would be considered a doldrum, right? So
I love that scene when they tell you why they are going after this woman,
right?
And it was powerful,
right? So what would you rate the United States versus Billie Holiday?
Definitely another 10 times 10 times 10, So, I mean, this is just well done. Just
done.
Beautiful piece of work. And and you know what? I also enjoyed Lady Sings the Blues. I love Diana Ross's film, right? Mm-hmm. And then that was a Motown film, and great film also. And then I told you the difference. I'm like, okay, so that film, the music, the singing, gave you a part of Billie Holiday's life, right? And then move forward into this film, the United States versus Billie Holiday. It picks up and it shows us the government going after her, and we also get a taste of where she came from, how she was raised, how she was treated. And then he just does a beautiful job when he explains, when he shows that this is another film where the sound can be down, because there are scenes where cinematography just shows it all. The editing is just beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And it just told us why
it was the way she was,
right? Because of how she was raised. I mean, it's just.
And other films, other documentaries, leave you short, and you'll say, "Well, why was she acting like that?"
This film describes it. It gives you a total picture.
Because even the Lady Sings the Blues left out why she acted the way she acted. But this film right here, why she did what she did, why she was the way she was, is well fleshed out. It humanizes Billie Holiday. So that's why I give it a 10.
Andrea Day was definitely born for this role. And I understand why Lee Daniels was like, no, this is your role. This is for you. I mean, because she I don't want to say killed it, but she just did such a great job in it. And she was in this film Lady Day, right?
And she was dedicated.
And Lee Daniels also was dedicated. You can tell that this was a labor of love for him, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was born to do this film.
He was.
So, I mean, they just did such a great job. And then let's not just leave out while watching this film, I said to you, "Oh my gosh, listen to that song! I've never heard that song before." So they introduce you to
songs that you don't usually hear in her catalog,
right, in Billie Holiday's catalog. So the music is just superb. The acting is just superb. Everything is just superb. It was just well done, and this film deserves like
an Oscar nod, if not the Oscar
nod.
Yeah, it's for the best picture for sure, and best director, best lead actor,
right?
Actor,
acting, cinematography,
it would be actress,
music.
But, you know,
it deserves an award, right? Supporting cast. I mean, because it's just like the supporting cast was just powerful.
Mm-hmm.
They just did he did such a great job. This is definitely like a labor of love. Every particle of this
film is.
It's beautiful.
And I remember when they said that he was going to be remaking Lady Sings the Blues. I said, remaking Lady Sings the Blues? But no, he wasn't remaking. He was making his own standalone piece that goes in the annals of film. This is a classic already, right? Beautiful. It is a classic. Beautiful. It is worth seeing. It comes out February 26th.
Yes.
It comes out February 26th on Hulu.
And I'm going to watch it when it comes out then.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is a special early bird review of the United States versus Billie Holiday on hashtag TFR Podcast Live. Both of us give it a 10.
Yes.
February 26th. Make sure you check it out on Hulu as we move on to the next film, which is The Little Things. That's right. The Little Things, right? Now, let me say before we get started on The Little Things came in at number 1, 4.8 million at the box office. 4.8 million at the box office came in number 1. So that box office today means at the box office, at the theater, and at home. 4.8 million. Let's go through the cast first.
Okay. Starring Denzel Washington
as
Deke. Rami Malek plays Detective Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Leto plays Albert Sparma.
Mm-hmm.
Also supporting cast: Sophia Vasilieva, Natalie Morales, Bradley James, Jason James Rector, Tom Hughes, John Harlan Kim, huge cast, and Ebony and Maya. And there's another actress I'm trying to, and you all know her.
The coroner.
Yeah, but I'm looking for her name, and I hate how sometimes some of these sites they don't
have
give
the secondary characters.
Everyone's name, right? And
so the synopsis of the film. There is a serial killer on the loose,
right?
And it would just so happen that while a serial killer is on the loose who has killed 9 women, and they haven't had any real suspects come forward, and the feds are on the verge of coming in to take over the case.
No, excuse me, Michael Hyatt.
Okay. They're on the verge of coming in to take over the case. Denzel Washington, who used to work in Los Angeles as the head investigating detective, happens to be coming back because there is a case that his sergeant wants him to pick up some evidence to bring back to convict this murderer, this killer, right? And so he happens to be in town when all of this is going down, and Rami Malek's character says, "Hey, would you like to ride along, because we've heard your name precedes you.
Right.
So basically, he's drawn into something, and the similarities are so that he says that this may be a chance for him to close a case that's 15 years old.
Right.
Right? So that's the basic storyline, right? And so it's one former head investigative detective, the actual one current in LA within this picture, join forces to bring the criminal to justice. Now I'm going to tell you, this film, The Little Things, you see the trailer, wipe what you think the trailer is making you think this is. Wipe that totally out your mind, because this is like no other detective thrillers, who done it, serial killer genre film that you have ever seen. It is nothing like what you have seen. So wipe that out your mind automatically, because it is nothing like what you have seen before, and you will be totally misled watching The Little Things. It is not what you think. There are twists and turns in this that will have you scratching your head at the end of the film.
And that's what I love about this film.
And you'll be sitting there and
right.
You know, you'll be sitting there like, yo, like, did they really prove that?
And I'm like, yes, and I presented you with all of the evidence.
Okay, let's go through the evidence. Let's go through the evidence. Like, you know, like I'm looking, I'm like, okay. They bring him in and they talk to him, and there's nothing, right? It's just all surface level. Did they really prove that he did it, or was it circumstantial evidence?
Yes.
Okay, run down the...
Okay, so look, before I give the evidence, right, I want to also add that Chris Bayer is in the cast. Chris Bauer, right? Mm-hmm. And we know him from True Blood. So when we saw him on the screen, we were like, we know him from True Blood. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, in the cast also is Judith Scott. Mm-hmm. She did a great job as Denzel's ex-wife, Marsha. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the film, see, I don't want to give it away. But what you have to do when you watch this film is you have to be 100% engaged. You better have your little pad out. And I'll see. Growing up, I used to play the game Clue. I love that game. Because each time you had to figure out who did what tool they used, what room. I mean, it's just like a guess who did it. And that's what I love about this film. So it's like they feed you like little pieces of evidence throughout the film, right? So I'm like making mental notes. And by the time the movie was over with, I'm like, I am 100% sure, and I'm like 100%. I've got all the evidence aligned, and I was just like happy at the end of the film, and I was able to.
The conclusion of the film will leave you perplexed.
Yes, you were perplexed. I'm like, no.
And you will be decide. Did they really prove that this guy did it? There's certain things that happen. It's like,
but I mean, from the beginning, you know, like we talked about it, but I don't want to give it away, because for me to give away the evidence is, you know, you have to see the film. But from the beginning to the middle to the end, they feed you pieces of information. So you go. What I love about this film is you're along for the ride, right? Right. So you're along for the ride, and you, just like the investigators, are actually like trying to help them figure it out. So even though Jared Leto is the suspect, is he really?
Did he really
commit the crime?
Did they did they get the right guy, and what did they do to compromise themselves to get the right guy? Right? Now, this film is a perfect example of Butch the dog, Thomas the cat, and Jerry the mouse.
Tom and Jerry.
That's right.
The cartoon.
So you could think of Denzel as Butch the dog, right? You could think of Jared Leto's character as Thomas Cat, and you could think of Remy Malek's character as Jerry Mouse. Now, if you know how the Tom and Jerry situations play out, then you'll understand what I'm saying. It's like you see Butch the dog kind of go at Thomas the cat, but then it's Jerry Mouse that kind of comes in, and so when you watch it, you're gonna see that dynamic. It's a Tom and Jerry thriller, suspense whodunit killer thriller with Butch the dog, right? It's Butch the dog, Thomas the cat, and Jerry Mouse, right? That's the dynamic that's playing out in this film. So let's break this down. Let's break it down. Let's see. Edgar Weekly, I see that he's watching, right? Say what's up to Edgar Weekly. Let's see what else. Let's break this down. Okay. Cinematography on the film. Okay. The use of various angles to tell the story. The wide shot, medium shot, close up, big head. Beautifully done. Okay. The movement of the camera, the use of the camera to pan down, just like you saw in that scene, to catch what's in the newspaper headline. Beautiful cinematography work. That is a 10 in the little things, right? The use of lighting, natural and artificial, such as flashlights. You can see it in these scenes within there. The use of the lighting that's coming through windows to light up scenes, probably with reflectors on the opposite end that light up the actors. Beautifully done. The color scheme through lighting. That's a 10. Yeah. Character development. Introducing you to each one of the characters. Okay. Each one of the characters, along with each one of the characters' flaws. Their flaws added in to tell the story. Yeah. That is a 10. Yes. Right? Yes. Character arcing. Right. By the time that you get to the latter 1/6 of the film, because the film is divided into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right? Okay. But by you get to the later 1/6, you're like, what the heck is this detective doing? That's what makes it Butch the dog, right? Which is great. Thomas
so
Cat,
engaging. It's engaging.
Jerry Mouse.
It's engaging.
Tom and Jerry type thing.
Like
did
Edgar see the film? Or maybe he can chime in on it, because this film is like a great, like I said, it reminds me of the game Clue, and I enjoy playing the game Clue, right? So even as an adult, I told you like a few months ago, or last year actually, when COVID started, I was like, I need to buy Clue again. Maybe we can play this during COVID since we can't go anywhere. But because it's a great, okay, so is this really the suspect? And so let's present all of the evidence. And I love how this film takes you on a ride.
And it keeps you perplexed thinking about it.
Right. Thought-provoking film.
Is the ending justified?
It's justified. You know why? Because they lay out all of the evidence for you throughout the film.
And lastly, using LA as a character.
Yes.
Using the mountains.
Yeah.
Using the drone shots to pull out from the Y and pull up to show you the full valley.
Right.
Using LA as a living, breathing character in this film.
They did a great job. You know why? Because the LA as the backdrop, right? Like you said, as a character, gives you evidence as well. Like there are scenes when they show you different areas, you know, in LA, and you read the signs and you see where he went, and you're reading it and you're looking and you're like, okay. And then when they present all of the evidence, right, and they talk about the character of the killer at the time, they're trying to figure out, well, who is this killer, right? And then so you think about the patterns, and you look at all of the different places Jared Leto went to, and all of the different things that he eats, right? And they show you all of this in, you know, the city of LA in the backdrop. You're seeing all of this, right?
Does the end justify the means in which the end came about? And that's what you have to determine in the little things, right?
Yes.
So what would you rate?
Oh, you know what I would rate it. We talked a 10 because this is a film that we talked about. Like, we talked about it all. We talked about it yesterday at premiere, right? So, so we talked
2 days ago, Friday.
Friday. We watched it Friday.
Because we've been film watching people
nonstop, right? And so ever since we seen the film, like we've been talking about it, and I've been presenting you with all the evidence because I am content, you know, with the outcome because, you know, like I said, I had all of my evidence in a row. And so,
does the end of the film justify the means of which it came about? Did they get the right person?
This film, if you have not seen it, you have to see this film because it will take you on a ride. And that's why it is the #1 film, and that's why millions of people purchase HBO Max to see this film.
4.8 million, #1 at the box office. And you know what box office means? It means at home and those who brave the theater in the United States. But so watch this film and take out your mind what you think the trailer is telling you what it is, because it's a total twist around from what you're thinking. By the time you get to the last 1/6 of the film, you're like, what the heck is going on here? And then
it's a thriller, definitely.
Yeah, it's gonna thrill you. How's the trunk space?
Right.
So you gave it a 10.
Definitely.
Okay,
a 10.
so I give it a 10 too, right? Before we go any further, my wife is wearing emeralds, but because emeralds are green and we have a green screen, it's representing rubies.
Oh,
because of the red, so it's representing rubies on her crown and not emeralds, right?
So it's not translating the green?
It's not translating the green because we have a green screen.
And this is our birthstone. I chose emerald, birthday month.
That's
and and the crown is in honor of course, Wendy Wiillams, Queen of Media.
Which is our next film up. Right?
As Tanya said, with the hip hop crown.
Right,
which is very appropriate for
with the gangster crown.
The gangster crown.
Right, because it's tilted to one side.
Tilted to the side, my hip hop crown, gangster crown.
All right.
Wendy Wiillams is hip hop.
So the synopsis of the Wendy Wiillams movie.
Right.
A young woman dreams of being on the radio. Her dreams come true, larger and bigger than her imagination could have imagined. Through the ups and downs, at the other end she emerges victorious. That is the synopsis of the Wendy Wiillams movie. But wait, on Lifetime, the movie came on 8 to 10, afterwards was a documentary called What a Mess, which chronicled Wendy Wiillams, right, during her time, right?
Yes.
So this, to say, this is an understatement. This and the film that we reviewed last week are some of the best produced Lifetime films that they have been. And I'm sure that the producers of these films say, look, we're doing stories about black people, black famous people. That money that you saved on all of those prefabricated films about women getting away from sadistic killers or women killing up the men or battering the men in their life, all that money you saved on not having the proper lighting, not having the proper edits, not having the greatest of scripts. Well, you can put all that money into the productions.
You know what? I love Lifetime. I love Lifetime.
Right? So you can put that money into high production.
And they did. They did a great job with last week.
Last week, Salt and Pepper. And this week, the Wendy Wiillams film to put 20 years, to capture 20 years of a person's life and move it in pacing and move it through. And if you know the story, you say, oh, I haven't missed anything. It's moving through, but I haven't missed anything. Beautifully done on the producer's part, the director's part, the editor's part of the Wendy Wiillams movie, right? Well, it's actually Wendy Wiillams the movie, but the Wendy Wiillams movie, right?
Directed by Darren Grant.
Directed by who?
Darren Grant.
Darren Grant.
Yeah, years ago he was a music video producer.
Music video producer. All right. So now, this film goes through the life of Wendy Wiillams from when she was a child to when she went off to college to how she got her first gigs in New York City, her detours from New York City, then back to New York City to become the queen of media that she is today. And the pitfalls that happened in the middle and all throughout that would have broke a weaker person, but because Wendy Wiillams was strong, she was able to persevere and come through. She was able to persevere and come through the drug use, the alcoholism, a rape, the misuse by famous people. Some of the people in here, their name is like really made kind of mud, if not muddied, if not muddy, kind of mud, especially if this is true. This is not her perspective, right? Now I'll say this.
She's never been known to be a liar, I can tell you that.
It is a lonely place at the top. And you know, it's really lonely when you are your best friend. When you are your best friend, when decisions have to be made and the only person that you can rely on is yourself. Let's go through the cast.
Starring Sierra Payton as Wendy Wiillams, and we know
tremendous though.
She did a great job. She embodied Wendy Wiillams. I'm just like watching Wendy Wiillams through the whole film. But we know Sierra Payton from Tyler Perry's show on BET, The Oval. Okay, so she plays Wendy Wiillams. Morocco Amari, he played Kevin Hunter, and he did a great job playing Kevin Hunter.
He captures Kevin Hunter. When you see the real Kevin Hunter and you see him, you see the slight differences, but he embodies his body mannerisms, his voice, his delivery, his actions is Kevin Hunter. Go ahead.
Also starring Rebecca Davis Amy Anaki, Rutherford Gray, Drummond McDougal, Liz Hooger, Deval Johnson, Nakeem Provo, and Bill Pozobon.
And they have extras, of course, going through. They come through. You know, the film details certain things, like people like Kathy Hughes. You're like, what? Right? And then you see people who are famous people. You're like, what? Like, people are really in their decision making. Like, they're really messed up at how they think they can step on people and do people wrong. But what really kills me, what really struck me, was when Wendy Wiillams was growing as a child, and she was a little overweight, you know, by her parents' standards. But by her, that was just her build, that was her makeup, that's girl. How she was going to be until she grew into herself, right?
Yeah.
The father said, "You have such a pretty face. If you would just lose weight. You have such a pretty face. If you would just lose the weight, you would be a pretty girl, right?"
Right.
I mean, so when you have things like that,
when you're growing up hearing that, right, as a child,
then the mother having her on tuna fish sandwich
and
mustard diet
and grapes.
And a few grapes on the
side.
First
grade, right?
First grade. Like, having her on there to slim her down, and, you know, it's things like that where you really don't have people behind you. Then later, when the things are happening with her husband, the parents seem to be more traditional and on the side of the husband instead of being on the side of the door. Now, I know that Wendy's mom passed, you know, rest in heaven, you know.
Yes.
But to see that on film, that was a reckoning.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that would have to be a reckoning of heart.
Yeah.
That would strike home to you that maybe what you were doing was not the best. Even in the documentary, because we're doing both together. What a mess. The way that the parents spoke about their daughter in the early years, and it's really, that's not how my parents would have spoke. You know, I'm just saying, I'm just going by it just experience of what it is. And so that's why I say Wendy Wiillams has persevered and come through, right? She has persevered and has come through so much to be her only friend, the only person that she could consult with to make a decision about her future was herself. What you got to say?
You know what? After seeing this film, actually prior to seeing this film, I kind of had the same thought about Wendy Wiillams. But after seeing this film, it just showed me even more that what describes her is clearly, like you said, growing up. She has fortitude, right? She's bold. She has perseverance, staying power. Her fearlessness, her endurance. All of that describes Wendy Wiillams, right? And it's just seeing what she went through, because, like, we talk about this like all the time. Like, you can be the type of person. It doesn't matter how kind you are. You don't have to have done anything negative to anyone. Some people, just because they're dealing with their own personal issues and their own mess, they put it off on others. Because from what I was seeing in this film, Wendy was just living her life, like you said, from her childhood. Then you saw her go off to college. And then you see her first jobs in New York and D.C. and in Philly, right? And just the people who she interacted with. Like, I specifically, like, I was disappointed because growing up, I was always proud of what I have heard about Kathy Hughes, right? A successful woman in media, you know, and I thought when I saw Wendy meet Kathy for the first time, and Wendy's just so happy to meet her, and like the response that she got from Kathy Hughes, like I thought, just like you can tell with Wendy's character in the film, she thought that she would have been embraced, right? A sisterhood, another woman moving into the field of media, but that's not what she received from her.
But, you know, we can look at the film with Don Cheadle.
Right. Which was a great film.
What was the name of that? I can't take a look it up real quick. But she ended up taking those stations away from
P.D. Wheat. What is it?
Not P.D. Wheatstraw. Son-in-law. That's a great film, but not that film. P.D. But it's P.D.
Let me look up Don Cheadle.
Right.
Give me his catalog.
But she ended up taking those stations from him when he was in a down situation, right? He was the one who brought her in as the story is told. And for this to have taken place, so these are a couple of examples where you say, hey, that's not quite, that's not quite.
But it was
what
something.
You're looking for.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me. That's what it was.
Another great film.
And then he plays who in Talk to Me? Oh, I hit the wrong one, I think.
No, you hit it.
Okay, right. Who's he play? I mean, I just need to know. P.D.
He played P.D. Green.
P.D. Green, right?
Right.
So, and then so these because these are the experiences of the person.
Right. It's disheartening.
It's the experiences of the person, and I have experienced people in my time, and I'm like, wow, man, that's why I try not to meet people who I say that I like their music or whatever, because they always seem to be a disappointment.
But you know what? Something that stood out, and I said I would definitely talk about this is, and I've been talking about this for a while. So when I saw it in her film, I wasn't surprised because I kind of had a feeling. You will see celebrities on like other shows, right? But then when I see in the film, when they tell her about her being blackballed and other celebrities who aren't willing to go on her show. Even though, just like when she was in radio, she dealt with the same thing. And what did she say on radio? Well, this is the #1 show, right? So they have to come here if they want to promote their music, right? You would think. But like, same thing. #1, on television, #1 again, still queen of all media, right? And then you see big heavy hitters on her show, right? And of course, that's why, like, I've seen all of J-Lo's movies, and I will continue to, because she's one of the people who will sit on Wendy Wiillams' couch, right? Mm-hmm. And then I love, I love how Will Packard, his actors from his films, right? We just saw Michael Ealy on there, Megan Good, right? Same with Lee Daniels, right? He's been on her show as well, right? And I love how people from his different films and his different actors and productions, they all go on Wendy as well, as well as other celebrities and stuff. But for those that don't go on there, like, they stick out like a sore thumb, whether they know it or not, right? So them so-called blackmailing her or blackballing her, it only makes them look bad, because there's been a few projects, and we've discussed this, and I'm like, well, they should have just went on her show, because maybe the film would have did better, or maybe the song would have did better if they had promoted it. But then some people, they, choose not to go on the show. But it's just like, but then they'll go on Entertainment Tonight, and they'll go on E! News, right?
And really, that's not the demographic that's going to go see that film.
Which is crazy.
Perfect example of demographic before we get back to rating the film, breaking it down and rating it. Over on Fox News, what is his name? I'm catching a blank now.
Which one?
The black dude on Fox News, but he's on the 5.
Oh, Tyler?
No, man, the 5, the black dude, the old dude. Juan Williams, right? Now, Juan Williams, back in the day, he was a conservative. You go to watch the old tapes, he had the wavy hair over his head. He was always, you looked at him, you say, But anyway, he's on there.
Okay.
And we're talking about Cicely Tyson.
Right.
So they use him on the 5 because he's a black person, and he should know Cicely Tyson.
Right.
Right? He says, now, there's 2 ways to pronounce Cicely.
Right.
Right? The white people pronounce the name Cecily.
Okay.
But everyone who knows Cicely Tyson would pronounce the name Cicely because it's Cicely Tyson. And everyone knows Cicely Tyson. Now, for Juan Wiillams not to know Cicely Tyson and pronounce it Cecily Tyson just passed. She was this, and this. He was just reading the information off, and she never played in blaxploitation films, etc., etc. And we've talked about the Superfly thing many times before. We're not going to go into that right now. But for him to say Cecily Tyson and not Cicely Tyson, how long has he been living, in my opinion, the white life, immersed in white culture? This is my point about talking about the various outlets and black people choosing to go there instead of going to an outlet where your people and every other people are going to be watching.
Right.
Because remember what we always say, you can be up all you want, but once the people in power realize that your base no longer F's with you, they're going to drop you off because they're trying to get that dollar because we're 1.2 trillion.
Right. So that's why I'm like, what are they
so
thinking?
Let me finish. So it's we're 1.2 trillion.
Right.
So my point of this is, here is Juan Wiillams living this white life saying Cecily. Now, all the other people on the 5, the 4 other people on the 5, they didn't know her name even to correct him and say, no, it's Cicely, not Cecily.
He's an older man.
Right, but he's old enough.
So you would think
he came through the same period.
Right.
That's my same point. She came through the same period. He would know this, but he didn't immerse himself in his own culture,
shocking.
Right? So you're sitting up there, the other people, we know their life, but they don't know ours. And that's my point. Going over there to those places, people say, such and such got this new thing. They're never going to see it. But you come over to Wendy Wiillams, the ones who watch Wendy Wiillams along with your base is on Wendy Wiillams, they will watch it. So that whole example, that's the analogy there, is Juan Wiillams to saying Cecily Tyson is to the base on Wendy Wiillams saying Cicely Tyson. And her base is multicultural, which means they would know Cicely Tyson versus that particular base that are only immersed in Caucasian things. Cicely Tyson, Juan Wiillams saying Cicely Tyson is to the Wendy Wiillams show saying Cicely Tyson. So you defeat your own purpose trying to step away from the person who has your base and everyone else.
That's just like, for instance, of course, like Tyler Perry, right? He goes on her show. His people go on Wendy's show. I saw, that's how I learned about the Oval, right? Sierra Payton is on the Oval. She's starring as Wendy in the film, right? And then Kenya Barris. That's how I knew about Blackish and all his other shows, right? So actors from Kenya Barris show, they go on Oprah show. I mean, on Wendy's show. And what made me think of Oprah just now, the OWN network, right? So the actors from Ava DuVernay's show that's on OWN, right? Queen Sugar. The actors from Greenleaf, which also is on OWN. I've seen them on Wendy's show as well, right? So, I mean, it's just the thing about Wendy Wiillams' show, and I don't know if their agents or managers or the celebrities themselves are maybe not up on the latest culture, right? Or what's going on, period, pop culture. They're not up on pop culture because people of all races and all age groups, everyone watches Wendy. Like Judge Judy was on Wendy, right? And she was on Wendy because she told Wendy, I love you, right? And she watches Wendy. And the country group years ago, I remember they were sitting in the audience. She noticed them and said hi to them. And then, then I saw them on her show later. But the Oak Ridge Boys was on Wendy. So, I mean, you get people from all races and backgrounds and ages. They're going to Wendy Wiillams show.
That's right.
So for all of these people who think that they're snubbing Wendy, some of these actors and singers and whoever who think that they're snubbing Wendy, it only hurts them. Because I've seen some big name stars whose their projects should have skyrocketed and should have done well and should have sold tons and tons of CDs, and their movie should have gone to #1 in films, whether it's on TV or whether it's in the theater. We're dealing with COVID now. But it didn't go. Mm-hmm. And what do I say to you all the time? I said, they should have went on Wendy. They should have went on Wendy. So they do it to themselves. So if they think that they're blackballing Wendy, it only backfires on them.
That's right. So look, people, let's get to breaking down the film now.
Okay.
The cinematography on the film is a 10.
Right.
The movement of the camera, the use of revealing with the various images and sizes, that's a 10.
Right.
The character development, introducing you to each character, the primary characters that drive this tale, as well as the secondary characters, is a 10. The use of nonverbal communication, especially within the Kathy Hughes scenes.
Yeah.
There was no voice. It was all facial expression.
It's all volumes. So.
That's great acting pulled out on the part.
Great directing.
Editing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a 10.
Yeah.
The wardrobe, capturing the period that they were in, over the 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a 10.
Yeah.
The storyline, through line, well written, well done. That's a 10.
Right.
The pacing of the film, excellent. Like, there was never a slow down. It was like moving fast, and it was not only giving you information, but it was entertaining at the same time. That's a 10. Same thing, incorporating the documentary, and the documentary pretty much was a reinforcement of the film. Yeah. So I give that a 10, the documentary coming afterwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The use of location, the use of the cars that they use to represent the time period, that's a 10. Yeah. I mean, everything is a 10. So what would you rate the Wendy Wiillams movie and
the documentary?
What a Mess? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%, like a 10. Like, I give for the same reasons you did. And I felt like I was like back in that period of time, because I remember when Wendy Wiillams had her show on the radio, right? Mm-hmm. And although I was in Cleveland, Ohio, like when I would be, because it was the time that I was younger, I was in college, right? Mm-hmm. So I would like work during the day and take classes like sometimes at nights or weekends. So when I was working, because I couldn't get it on the radio, I was so happy when the Wendy Wiillams Experience was the name of her radio show, right? And they released it on the internet, right? So I could hear her show live on the internet. So I would be like at work on my computer working while listening to the Wendy Wiillams, right? And I would just be sitting there cracking up laughing. And my coworkers would walk by and they would be like, what are you laughing at? And then I would let them hear a little bit. And they would go to their areas and hook up their computer and listen to it. So that took me back, because I'm like one of those people who knew Wendy way before she hit television, right? Mm-hmm. So, everything was just like right on point. It was great to actually see everything. Like the documentary was great, like you said. And it gave you a little bit more of her background. And Wendy, she talks about a lot of the stuff on her show. She told us about growing up as a child, how her parents would put her on diets. She talked about that a lot, right? And then her talking about it, you could tell how it hurt her, right? So a lot of the stuff that we saw on the show, if you are someone that listened to Wendy over the years, or if you're a viewer that watched her show, she's already given us like little bits and pieces of her life already, but to visually see it, it was just like well done. And the actress that played Wendy, she hit her on the mark. Like her body language, the mannerisms, the little walk that Wendy does, her facial expressions, she just like hit it out the park. So this was like, I would give it a 10. It was a really,
it was
really
very
good film.
enjoyable.
It was.
Right? It was entertaining.
Yeah. And it touched me like the other films. There were like areas where I was like tearing up.
Uh-huh.
It was just like sad. And this woman is, I mean, she is a force of reckoning because she, whose song is that when we fall down but we get up? Is that Donnie McClurkin? And that makes me think of Wendy Wiillams. And she, you know, no matter what curves life may throw her, she has the fortitude, you know, and like we saw her pray. Was that in the documentary or in the movie? I think it was in the movie. It might have been in the documentary too. But we saw her pray, right? And then she just pulled it together and she just kept doing what she had to do. Right. And she forged on beyond that rape and beyond what happened with her husband and her marriage and beyond how she was made to feel as a child, right? Mm-hmm. And like she said, she was her own best friend.
Her own best friend.
And she forged through. She's a strong woman.
Strong woman. Forged through it all.
Yes. Queen of all media.
So, you know, for me, you know, the Wendy Wiillams movie, as it's labeled on Twitter, or Wendy Wiillams the movie, and What a Mess, the documentary that followed. Right. I give them a 10 combined. And can you believe, people, that this is the last show in January 31st, 2021. There will be many more Januaries. Right. But there will never be another January 2021. Now, when we get to February 1st is tomorrow. And you know, Observations TFR happens tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. That's myself with my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. We bring observations on subjects and bring information that one day may save your life. Like here on the Film Review. Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, hashtag TFR Podcast Live, Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Pick up
on the spot. Right? We bring movie reviews that save you pocket revenue. Right? We appreciate coming on. We appreciate those coming on and watching with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate the numbers rebuilding because we did take a hiatus for the December. And we appreciate you coming on and joining in on the new branding hashtag. You found the spot. Right? You found the spot. When you go to Google and you hashtag in the search, hashtag you found the spot, type that in, click it. All the different pages come up as we build this new brand. Right?
Along with the face mask, you have to, don't forget about this.
Don't forget about the mugs and the face masks. And when you go there, you can go to the podcast section. When you Google hashtag you found the spot, YOU, found the spot, all one word, it comes up and you will see the podcast. You click the podcast and you can listen to the podcast on Google Podcasts, on TuneIn, and on Stitcher Podcast. That's right. As we build our podcast platforms once more under the new branding. So we appreciate you.
We do.
Tuning in.
We do.
Listening, watching us. We love that you are taking in our programming.
We do.
What's the Point? That's my sister's show that comes on at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern on Sunday mornings or Sundays at noon, depending on if you're on the Pacific time on the West Coast or on the Eastern time on the East Coast.
Yes.
You get to hear it, and she is also being populated on Google Podcasts, on TuneIn, and on Stitcher.
Yes.
Right? Make sure that you subscribe, like, share. Watch us, like us, share us, let your friends know that we're on. We bring the information. We bring an entertaining show too, right? None can say that they lay out quite the way that we lay out our backgrounds, the way it looks, the professionalism, because we appreciate you watching, and so we bring you a show because we are professional at hashtag TFR Podcast Live, hashtag Observations TFR, hashtag What's the Point, and of course hashtag You Found the Spot on the Spot Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, all that. We appreciate you. Right? I can't believe that we're at the end of the first month of January again, and this is the last show in January 2021.
Oh my gosh, time is flying. It's moving quickly.
When we see you again, we will be in February, Black History Month. And do we have shows lined up for Black History Month? You have to tune in on all our programming. We are bringing you programming. We appreciate you.
Speaking of that, we brought you a film that's going to be released on Black History Month, United States versus Billie Holiday, on Hulu.
On February 26th.
Yes.
2021. Right? By the time you get in February, I have to let you know, if you're not ready with what you're planning on to release in June or in the summertime, you just missed the summer. We're sorry. That's just the way time lapses, the way time moves. Take it from someone who constantly produces quality programming, produces quality music at the time, produces quality film at the time. If you have not finished what you're going to do by February, you're going to miss the summer. Or if you put it out and it's not ready, it's going to be shoddy, which makes it going to be snitty. Substitute the H for the N, you'll get what I'm saying. So people, there is no one that does it better than hashtag You Found the Spot, hashtag What's the Point, hashtag The Film Review, hashtag TFR Podcast Live, hashtag Observations TFR. There's no one that does it better.
You know what I learned?
Wait, let me finish. There's no one that does it better. I see a lot of people starting to copy. I see a lot of people trying to copy. I see people out there, instead of joining in, they start trying to find different platforms to try to do the same thing that we do, but it's only one thing. Your sound quality is nil. Your picture is nil. Your ability to create a world is nil. That comes from I am, therefore I am. If you have no base in whatever spiritual belief you believe, if you have no base in it, you're not able to produce this. Period. It's a nice carbon copy, but those who copy, often they go into delusionment and stop and start.
Because it's not easy.
Start and
it's
start.
Not easy.
Wanna know why? Because it's not easy. Creators make it look easy, but it's not easy at all. Right. 2, you're trying to do something that your heart's really not in. What you gotta say?
Again, back to watching the Wendy Wiillams film and documentary. What I enjoy about our show is because doing this, we see a lot of politics. But what I love about our show is we're revealing the truth. we review all films. It doesn't matter who the actress is, the actor is, the director. I mean, we review films, and there's no politics aside. And we see that because we have reviewed films, and we know it's a good film. Like going back to Nate Parker's film, right? That was a great film. 2016, A Birth of a Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Great film, right? And it should have been received all kinds of nods. It should have received all kinds of awards. But, you know, we don't play into politics.
No, we don't.
We will review, and we will, all films. It doesn't matter what platform it's on. So we're an open door, and we're the voice for filmmakers.
That's right. We're the voice for filmmakers. That's a new slogan there. We are the voice for filmmakers.
Don't worry, somebody will steal it.
No, I'm claiming it.
They do it so
We are the voice of filmmakers.
Right.
We are the voice of filmmakers. That's a new slogan.
Right.
We take that, roll it, probably put it on a t-shirt. We are the voice of the filmmakers. Now look. Let me say this real quick and clear. There are many carbon copies, but just like Billie Holiday had the courage to sing a song that was not in agreement with the United States government,
Right.
so we are strong enough to discuss topics, have the knowledge to discuss topics that have to do with race equity,
Right.
have to do with the advancement of American black people,
Right.
the advancement of putting us finally in the place that we are supposed to be, with the reparative justice, restorative justice of reparations. We are strong enough to do that. Everyone does not talk that, and because they do not talk that, they are just superficial vessels. Because we bring you entertainment, but we're going to bring you information that you have to be up on to be knowledgeable. If you do not discuss that, if you are scared to discuss that, then you must look at the people that you are around. Because if you can't discuss that around the people, the advancement of American black people, then you are standing around people who are racist. Point blank, clear as you could put it. No one is speaking that. All of these carbon copies, all these people that want to try to be like what we're doing on here, we talk that and keep it moving and bring the information about the different films we do, the different observations we do, the different spirituality we do with the Holy Bible Society. We do all of that. And we move through and we bring the information, and it's effortless.
Right.
And if you cannot do that, you are a sellout to your people. If you feel that the people that are around you cannot accept what you say, you are a sellout to your people. This goes out all over the globe. We state what we say. We stand by what we say. We state what we say. What we say, we state to the masses of people. And if you cannot do that, quit trying to be a carbon copy of us and try to figure out something original, because obviously you will never have this. This takes foresight, forethought, the ability to think. And let me say this. I've never drank, never smoked, never used weed, never used drugs, never did anything like that. No narcotics, nothing. Which means that my mind moves, man. My mind moves. I have more ideas. I wake up with more out of a dream with more ideas than I can execute. Be about your business and quit trying to carbon copy what you see hashtag TFR Podcast Live is doing, what you see hashtag What's the Point doing, what you see hashtag Observations TFR doing, what you see hashtag You Found the Spot, the Spot Podcast doing.
Right.
Come up with your own ideas. Come up with your own ideas, your own originality. Don't switch up mid-range because you say, oh, this looks like this is working, so I should try that. No, don't do that.
You make it look easy.
Don't do that, because you will be disillusioned, because it's harder than what you think to come 5 days a week and then have programming that's going on the various podcast providers on all Saturday.
Really, you're doing 6 days.
And then the 7th day, bring this show. That's 7 days. Be original. Do what is in your limitation. And if you are an American black, or you are black from the diaspora, and you don't know American black history in this country, and you don't know enough about Pan-Africanism, you don't know enough about world black history, it is a shame. It is you are a disgrace to being within a race of great people. Only, this is a term, this is true, monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see what human do, monkey wanna do. Come up with your own original ideas. I'm only going to speak on this once. This is nice. I'm only going to speak on it once, nicely. Come up with your own ideas. Don't come up, oh, they're moving a t-shirt. Let me find a place to move a t-shirt. Don't do that. Oh, they got a female. That's husband and wife. Let's have a husband and wife team. Don't do that. Oh, they're trying to kick facts. Let's just try to come back to a sister and brother team. Oh, don't do that. You don't know enough about the Bible because you never cracked it. So don't try to do what's the point. Don't try to do that. You're going to send people to hell. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you ever read the Quran, I mean, if those who are that, if you want to do that, listen to Farrakhan. Farrakhan has read the Quran. Or listen to people who are followers of Islam. That's right. He's read the Bible too. If you want to have a show and you want to be like just have anything that has to do with something to be counter to it, make sure that you have read it front and backward, have done what was necessary in the concordance to be able to do that. Now, this is the only time that we're going to take time, because we're at the end of January, and I see the carbon copiers, right? They're not coming in and saying, hey, why don't we do something joint together? Or, hey, I'm going to support you on what you're doing. You know, I'm going to purchase your t-shirt. No, they go out and try to do their own thing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, be original. Because everything, I wake out of dreams and I come with this originality, and you say, damn, look at Crazy D. Every single day he coming with something. He's burning. How it's a connection, man. It's a blessing, man. So don't do that. You got something to say before we close out?
I think that's why I have so much respect for a lot of maybe the creators, like the originals, or like a lot of the filmmakers that I mentioned, right, who have sat on Wendy's couch, and Wendy, right? She's an original, right? And so she doesn't give a care. She's nobody's follower, right? She doesn't care what the next person is doing. She led her own trail. She's a trailblazer, right? Just like the people that I mentioned, as well as, I think that's what I like about them, and with us, because the reason we started doing this, years ago?
3 years ago now. It'll be four come
In July, right. So we started this because we saw a huge, it was a missing piece. It was a
disparity.
Gap. Right. And we're like, okay, these films aren't being covered. Right. Why aren't they being reviewed? So that's why we started doing it, because our love for film. And we saw so many different films, right? All films, just good films, period. And they weren't being reviewed. Like, we review everything from classic films, from Turner Movie Classics, to films on streaming, to network, to movie theaters, to just great films. And we, like we said, Outkast film is really what kicked it off. And then Belly, and films like those, Idlewild, right? And Belly, who were just totally ignored. And those were great pieces of work.
Those concepts and those use of the way that they moved the camera and the CGI effect were later used in other films. Right.
Yeah. They totally bit that idea, the opening of Idlewild. Yeah. Like, after that, I started seeing that everywhere. But, and then Beyonce's film, in which she also starred in and executive produced, Cadillac Records. That movie is just a great piece of work. A classic. And we weren't doing a show back then, but I wish we had her. So we're going to have to roll that into the review maybe next month in February.
And then we cover the blaxploitation films where a generation that's before us tried to down it as if because they're in the politics of personal responsibility, which hasn't worked. But when you break down those blaxploitation films, what they were doing with the budget that they had, that it was a Jewish and black connection together making those films for the most part, and the limited budget that they had, like Superfly, and using the ADR to make it seem like the two fiends were talking when they weren't saying anything, and then as they walked down the street, I've described that film before. But the Mac, laughing at the Mac, but the Mac taught you don't run from the police. But people laugh and scoff at it, and they don't watch it and get the lessons from out the film, because all those films kick game.
Pam Grier's films.
Kick game. Right? So all of those films, and so we talk about those films in high esteem. Right? While other people try to laugh at them and try to separate people away, we advance what is true and what is so about those films. So, as we close out, anything else you like to say?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. So, people, as we close out, we will see you in February, Black History Month. Get ready. We've got some shows for you, right? So, remember.
Happy birthday, Tierra. One of our viewers.
Yeah. So, as we close out, we would like to say, again, we appreciate you watching us. We make sure that we bring you a image and a product that is worth you watching, because we appreciate you, the viewer, the global viewer, the regional viewer, the local viewer. We appreciate you. So now, people, you have been watching hashtag TFR Podcast Live. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
We review movies, music, culture, politics, and society on a podcast called The Film Review, or in short, hashtag TFR Podcast Live. And we will see you next Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, with another jam-packed show.
The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Spot Podcast and the Film Review Life channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching The Film Review.